It's been a long time and we shouldn't have left you, but life has been lifing, but we are back. Steph and Kat Talk WOW is returning, and we've got a lot to get into and a lot to talk about. Again, this is the return of Steph and Kat Talk WOW.
Yeah, yeah. Making her way to the mic. They start dimming the lights. You start feeling alright. From Birmingham, home of the Teddy Longs, and the room is stutters. More once you discover. For all of the lovers, Whitney Houston and Roman Reigns. For all of the lovers of Mickey James and Marvin Gaye. For all of the lovers of Sasha Banks, Janelle Monáe, Silk, Sonic, and Paige. Allow me to say, look, I just found a place, sweet escape. Every one of us, I was kinda late, so I just made it off the struggle bus. Walking by the fate, cause I know it's right in.
Again. Welcome back to the first episode of Steph and Kat Talk WOW. The first one we're having in a long time due to hiatus of different life things that have been going on, but we've kept pushing, we've kept persevering, and we have kept succeeding. And we are happy, so happy to be back before you on this Thursday night to talk about our wow superheroes, our women of wrestling that we love and cherish so very dearly. Of course, I'm your girl, Stephanie Hardy, host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and of course, co host of this fabulous show and HWP Extra, writer and color commentator featured on various promotions, but most recently at Retinal Pro Wrestling in Birmingham, Alabama, my hometown. But of course, I am not alone. I am reunited with my sister and my tag team partner. She is the creator of In Cat We Trust. She is an author. Buy her books and read them because they're awesome. She is a panel host. She just had her Women of Color in Wrestling panel in Philadelphia. If you have not looked up her past panels, go look them up. She is a super mom to three amazing children. Now, of course, you can't really look up her children, but at the same time, they're doing fantastic work and just being fantastic human beings because she raised them that way. She is Katrina Blake. She is an interviewer. She is all the things. And I am so happy to be back with her. How are you, Kat?
What an intro. I appreciate that. I'm okay. I'm tired. This has been a very hectic week or so. Happy to be back. But I am tired. I'm very tired. But yeah, normal for me, I guess.
Yes. It's so great to be reunited with you, and I am also very tired. But at the same time, I just find that whenever we get together, or just whenever I just get in camera on camera in general to talk about wrestling, the energy just kind of just comes back, and it's very divine that way. So I'm just really happy to be back, and of course, thank all of you guys for watching us live. And of course, if you enjoy Women of Wrestling WOW superheroes, you are more than free to chime in the comments and tell us who your favorite superheroes are or what part of the episodes that you've been liking so far. A lot has been going on since we've been on hiatus. We have both still been keeping up with the product. We've had championships change hands. We have blood feuds going on. We have new tag teams going on. So, Katrina, from what you have been seeing over the past couple of months, what has been your favorite thing or favorite amazing thing that you've seen on WoW so far before we get into this episode that aired this past weekend?
I've been liking a lot of it. I definitely liked one of the title changes in particular because she's my girly, and so I was very happy about that title change. Um, I was also happy with just some of the matches we got, like where I'm like, all right, like you mentioned Genesis, and it was nice to kind of see that because that's been happening for a few months with regards to her wanting her due, I guess. Um, but I have been enjoying it. But I think I'm most happiest about a certain title change because she's my friend, and so I just hit a little differently, for me. But I don't know. I guess we can mention it, but you know, Ashley, who I know as Cameron, um, I was very, very happy to see that title change happen. Very, very happy. I think I like shrieked when I saw it. Kind of gave a little shriek because it's like, "Oh, God," yeah. So I that was probably for me one of my favorite moments so far because she's a very amazing woman, very sweet. And I love when my peoples get good things, and so it's very cool to see.
Yeah, Ashley Blaze is someone who I really like, and I liked her even before she was at WoW. So to see her reach this trajectory and be back on a TV show wrestling in this way, and then of course connecting with someone who is one of my favorite people, Tootie Lynn, the Little Blue Dragon, aka Tara Strike, and becoming the new WoW Tag Team Champions. That was something I screamed over too, because that was because I think that episode for us aired before a WWE PLE was supposed to air, and I can't remember which one it was. And I think it was Saturday night's main event, if I'm not mistaken. So we were watching that before main event came on, and to see that main event happen and to watch them win, I could not stop screaming because I met Tara Strike at my very first media junket at NWA's Empower, which was an all female event. So, to fast forward now and to see her win this title with someone who she shares a home state with as well, both being from Missouri. It was just really awesome. And of course, seeing a black female tag team, rise to the occasion as well, just made me really, really happy. So, congratulations to Team Show Me State. That's not their official name, but I'm calling them that because they're both from Missouri. It was so awesome. And just see, it was really crazy to see that triple threat match, to see them having to go against Miami Sweet Heat and then Best for Business with Sandy Shore and Kara Kai, and to see Kara Kai beating up on Tara Strike the way she was. I was just like, oh my God, how in the world have we gotten here? They were so strong at first, and now they're beefing. But hey, look who won out in the end, right? Our girls did. So it was really cool. It's been really amazing to see the trajectory of everyone so far, um as we get back into the swing of things. So congratulations to those girls, we're so happy for them. So um we get to this episode that aired this past weekend called Prove Your Worth. Kat, how did you feel about this episode before we fully get into it?
I thought it was a good episode. I enjoyed the matches on it. For the most part, it was good.
Yeah, it was a pretty solid episode. I find that I'm always used to them doing four matches in an episode, like when we first started covering it. So it's just like anytime there's like just three or maybe just two, I'm just like, oh, okay. But the stuff that they put in the middle of it still makes for a very interesting show, regardless. And of course, they are still in the backdrop of Las Vegas, which is now one of my favorite cities. So it's still cool to see them on Fremont Street and seeing people into the show and the crowd getting into the show and everything, and them interviewing people in the audience as well. That's really cool. I like that. So yeah, it seems like Las Vegas is going to continue to be a character, but not really so much of a character within this season of WoW. And also shout out to Nigel Zane for um, opening up his own official WoW podcast that airs every Friday live. And he gets interviews and stuff with the superheroes, and then of course he had an interview with David McClain and Genesis, which led to the main event match that we will be discussing. So, in this episode, we got a recap of Terror Strike and Ashley Blaze winning the tag team titles and celebrating backstage with Sibley Skulls. And that was an amazing view because here again, we love Black Girl Magic here. And just seeing all three of those women backstage, and them sharing that moment with Sibley was just really cool. So, we love Terror Strike and Ashley Blaze here. Congrats to them for that moment. But then we get another interview with Full Throttle, which is a new trios tag team with Vicious Veronica Varoom, Catalina Speed, and the debuting Brooklyn Love. It's really interesting this season. The newer superheroes that we are seeing are always sort of debuting with a team or with a trios team. And Brooklyn Love, who has more of a tennis aesthetic, is making her debut with them. I was not expecting um, Veronica and Catalina to actually add another person to their um, tandem, but I'm not too mad about it either. So, Katrina, how did you feel about, at first glance, about Brooklyn Love?
I was interested. I did appreciate the tennis aesthetic. Just because I always think like if I ever watch tennis, I usually watch the women tennis players more than I've watched the men. It was just Serena was definitely the reason I was watching women tennis. And so I just I'm always curious when I see a different gimmick or a different character in WoW how they're gonna kind of incorporate that into the gimmick, but also into their matches. And so I was like, okay, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it is very intriguing. And tennis is something that, I do watch mostly when the women are there because of course we grew up during the age of Venus and Serena Williams. And shout out to Serena Williams who's coming back to tennis after retiring, which is just amazing. And then of course you have the Coco Gauffs of the world and the Naomi Osakas and so many and the Sloane Stevenses of the world in terms of representation of black women or women of color in tennis. And it's just really amazing to see the women do it because there's just so much intensity that's behind it. And that's not to say that men don't, but it's just something a little bit extra about watching the women hit that hard. So Veronica, well, not Veronica, but Brooklyn Love becoming a part of things, and adding that full throttle speed along with Catalina's speed and Veronica Varum is really cool too. So this led us to our first match, which was Full Throttle versus Monsters and Metal in a non-title trios match. Of course, Monsters and Metal are still the reigning WoW trios tag team champions after defeating Top Tier, which has sent Top Tier on a downward spiral, which is something else that we'll have to discuss later. But Monsters and Metal wanted to be fair and throw Full Throttle a bone, even though they feel like they were arrogant enough to think that they deserve a trios title match, but they decided to fight them for, a non-title to make them prove themselves. So the match started with Fury and Catalina Speed giving a lockup and a takedown from Fury, and giving a leg scissors and around Catalina's neck and a leg sweep for a 1 count. Catalina decided to give a leg sweep and try to bounce back against Fury, but then Fury hit two clotheslines instead and gave a face breaker and a knee to Catalina's jaw. And then Brooklyn Love tagged in, and it was interesting to sort of see her, sort of dip in and out at the beginning of the match because I was hoping to see more of her performance at the beginning, but she dipped in and dipped out and then tagged in Catalina again, who got arm dragged by Daisy Lane, but then you saw a little bit of the tag team tandem between Vicious Veronica Varum and Catalina because they were able to hit a double clothesline onto Daisy Lane and keep her isolated away from Monsters of Metal for a good portion of the match. But then once Daisy Lane got to fight back and tag Chainsaw, that's when everything just kind of changed. Chainsaw came in, chopped down the whole team, and gave a Samoan drop to V3. But then Brooklyn Love broke the count. Eventually, we did see some of the speed of Brooklyn Love and hard hits of Brooklyn Love and strikes sort of come in. And then Veronica impressed in this match by giving a tornado DDT onto Chainsaw for a 2 count. She had that fearless New York energy that we're seeing a lot of, especially now during the NBA Finals as they go up against San Antonio. Big ups to New York. But of course, Monsters of Metal got the upper hand and hit the rigor mortis onto Catalina Speed for the 3 count, and Monsters of Metal wound up winning the match. So good stuff. A very solid start to the episode. Love Trio's action, and it was good. Full Throttle showed a lot of their chemistry, but Monsters of Metal, of course, are the more experienced team, so they came out on top. So, Katrina, how did you feel about the match, and what stood out to you the most?
I actually really appreciated Veronica Room's in this match. Like she's a fellow New Yorker, but I feel like I've been in the on the middle. Like I thought she was cool, but like kind of in the middle about some. I know you liked her, like you was really hype about her when she first got here. But I think this match kind of like I'm like okay, I see you, sis, I see you. Like I thought she really kind of shone in this match. Then more to me than in previous matches. I was okay with the win because I do think, everything, especially in particular with Daisy, that she's been through in WoW over the last year and a half. I'm happy to see her like thriving and doing well in that. So I'm okay with the win, but I definitely do think that Veronica impressed me quite a bit in this match. I was like, oh, I like what I'm seeing. I like this. I feel like it was more like she's a bit edgy as it is, but I felt like it was even more of an edge. I feel like that's not the word I want to use, but I just felt like she really pulled out some stuff in this match this time, and I appreciated that. And then also, some New York people, hype. But I do feel like she definitely just pulled out some more stuff, and I'm hoping that she kind of consistently keep that energy in any future matches because I liked it. I liked what I saw.
Yeah, I liked what I saw from Veronica Vroom too. I feel like since she's been um on the WoW roster, we've only seen her sort of sporadically in singles matches, and then we saw her, and then there was a period where we didn't see her, and then she came back with and decided to create a team with Catalina Speed. But the more it's like I want to. This match left me wanting to see her wrestle more, even just not even no shade to Catalina Speed, but I would have been satisfied if V3 was just a singles wrestler because there was so much she was coming out of the woodworks with, and she was just fearless and, like you said, very edgy in that match. Like most people run away or cower away from Chainsaw, but she did not cower away from her at all. And she was hitting all kinds of moves and everything, and I'm just like, yo. And she even hit a cannonball and everything, of course, which fed into the whole roller derby aesthetic for her. So it was just really cool to see her, get it cracking along with her team. So I do want to see more from Veronica Vroom this season and later on in the coming seasons or the coming weeks or whatever. She did really great. So I definitely agree with that sentiment. Um, but aside from wrestling, as we're talking about New York, um, Katrina, as a fellow, as an absolute New York to the core woman, what's the forecast like over there since the finals are going on?
Listen, now if the Knicks win, I can understand why New York will be happy because they haven't won since the 70s and they haven't
Yeah,
been to the finals since 99.
yeah.
So I get it. With that being said, I have been highly annoyed with some of the things happening because, like, yesterday I wound up getting stuck. I was out in the city yesterday, but on the way back home, I was trying to get home and some nonsense happened on the train, and I basically had to walk back from 50th to 34th, which is right by MSG.
Oh
And so it
wow.
took me 20 minutes to get through all of that. And I'm telling people, like, excuse me, let me just get to the LIRR to get back to where I needed to get to. And they were really kind of annoying me. I was like, I'm a firm believer. And I was, because my son's a Knicks fan. And I was saying this, I think in any sport that's more than one game, you celebrate when it's over. And I told my son, and he said he understood it because he said his favorite Brunson, who likes Brunson, said kind of the same thing. But Kobe always said, you do not celebrate until the end when it's actually over and done with. And like I can understand the excitement is like, what if they don't win the finals? And I'm not saying don't believe in your team. That's not what I mean. But what I mean is like some of the people who have been like hanging off of like the light posts and that kind of nonsense. And it's like, all right, like you can be excited without doing that part, or you can be excited without getting into altercations with people. Like people been fighting, some people have been fighting with people, and I'm like, why? Like it's like I get it, but I also don't understand that level. I don't think, and I love a few things, and I'm fans of many things, but I don't think I can love something enough where it might cause me to be in an altercation, or love something enough that I'm disrupting somebody else, if that makes sense. And so that's been a bit annoying. I must say I was very annoyed going through that, trying to get through. It took 20 minutes to walk through a crowd of people for one block. Just one block. It took 20 minutes because people were moving. I'm saying excuse me, and I was just so annoyed by that. But with that being said, the MTA, why they have other things to worry about. They did paint, I think, the station right by there orange and blue to represent for the Knicks, and there's some and so like that is cool. And I think Dunkin' Donuts, their frosted donut right now has like the orange and blue stripes on it. For what I saw, at least in New York, Dunkin' Donuts, the ones I've been in, like a few of them, not all of them, but some of them have the orange and blue stripes for them. And so there's like little things. I'm like, all right, I understand. And then obviously if they win, good kudos, good shit. But I'm like, Lord, I just want to go home, and you guys won't let me get through. Oh yeah, looking at me crazy because I'm saying, excuse me. I'm like, I don't want to stay here in the viewing party. I just want to go home. And there was really no way for me to cross around. There was really no way to go around or anything. It was just how ridiculous it was. It was no way, but I just had to go through. And if there was another way, I wouldn't have went through all of that. So that I'm not looking forward to God what it's going to be if they win. And I happen to be stuck outside in the city. I'm hoping I'm not because I can only imagine how that's going to be. It's going to be absurd. With that being said, though, I do understand and appreciate some of the energy as a New Yorker because it's been a long time since the Knicks won anything. And so we'll see.
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for you guys because it's not that often that New York is ever really the underdog in anything because it's the epicenter. It's an epicenter city, right? Or at least from the outside looking in as a person who's from the South or from down here in Birmingham, you sort of grow up seeing New York as like the big place, right? But then it's just like even with all the teams and the big teams and all the things you guys have won, but it's like when it comes to the Knicks, it's just I'm really pumped to root for them because I'm always pumped to root for the underdog in this situation. And so I hope you guys win. Even though I'm a Lakers fan, as you mentioned Kobe Bryant before, he famously said job's not finished, That's that Mamba mentality. But even last year I noticed that when the Knicks almost made it to the finals, y'all were crunk. And I appreciate that energy because, y'all love your team hard. Even though it can be annoying, and I do hear you out and I empathize with that, I can imagine that has to be really tough when all you just want to do is go home and lay down and just relax, but and you got stuff to do. But I have been enjoying watching the TikToks and the videos of everyone in New York just being excited, even y'all's mayor, who I love. Just being so excited about everything. I hope you guys win. Like I'm rooting for you guys so hard. Like I want y'all to win. Um, so yes, your fellow surrogate New Yorker is hoping for you guys to win, and hopefully one day, um, LA will get it together, or maybe Birmingham will have a team. Who knows? But I'm rooting for y'all, and I hope that it gets a little easier for you to travel about and do things without getting caught up in the craziness. Because sports fans can be very passionate, just like wrestling fans can be very passionate as well. So, as we move into match number two, we have the top tier test still going on. So, Katrina, how do you feel about Coach Campanelli wanting to do these assessments on Crush and Gloria Glitter to find a weak link of top tier since they've lost the trios titles that they helped to usher in?
I think she needs to look at herself, cause sis, now, like it was a trios title, it was a trios title. It was for like all of you as a team. So to remove herself from it and want to test, you know, Gloria and Crush is like, are you not part of the team? Or are you not one of the members of why you may have lost? How are we like gonna? It just kind of reminds me of what she did with Team Spirit, where she, instead of maybe looking at what she may have done differently, or if she was maybe the cause of some of what happened, she chose to just go to another team and basically throw everybody that was left under the bus. And so now in this regard, now she's like, well, let's see what's wrong with them. Like, sis, what if it's you? That's my thing. It's just like you could also be the cause. It could just be the two of you together if you want to question why you don't have the titles anymore. But I'm like, girl, if you don't look at yourself in the mirror, just like maybe it's me, I don't know. You just got to be honest with yourself sometimes.
Yeah, you do have to be honest with yourself. And I feel like we need to go back and study the tape and see who actually was responsible or who took the pin for them to lose those trios titles, because that was a very extreme situation as well, because that match, for, if I'm not mistaken, was sort of like not a death metal match, but it was a very extreme type of ECW type of match. So it's just like whoever took the pin is, I guess could be whoever did it, who they would be the weak link, right? But it's like you mentioned, it is the same thing that she did with Team Spirit. it's like, okay, these, like, the team isn't doing what I want them to do. They're not listening to me. So the problem is everybody else and it's not me. But no, like, it could very well be you, like you said, Katrina. It could be Coach. Now, granted, Coach did have a match for herself that she did wind up winning, I believe, against Xena Phoenix, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like she has made herself above being tested. But I think my biggest issue is in making Crush and Gloria go through the first set of assessment matches that they did and then making them redo it. My problem is it's like, why are you having such an issue with them using underhanded tactics to win their assessment matches when the entire time you were a trios team and you were dominant, y'all were using underhanded tactics, but now you want to be, oh, you can't cheat now, or oh, you can't do underhanded tactics now. That's my biggest issue, because all the time you were injuring people and beating up on people on crutches with chairs and so many things and attacking people. But now when it comes to these assessments, now you want to be like, oh, well, you can't cheat to do that, and oh, you have to make things fair and all of that. And I'm just like, so where did the switcheroo happen in your attitude? Where's your viciousness? Where did that go? Um, that's my big question about their dynamic. But of course, Crush and Gloria Glitter want to take the test again to prove that they're not the weak link. So in this match, we had Crush versus Gabriella Cruz. Um, Coach cut a promo before the match saying, "Listen up. Tonight is Crush's redemption match. After I caught tape of Crush and Glitter attacking Xena before their match, I want to make sure Crush beats this next competitor on her own. This is an individual skills test, and I will put them through as many matches as it takes to find the weak link. And after this, Coach will only end up with the best of the best for top tier. You're welcome." And she watched the rest of the match on commentary with David McLean and Nigel Zane. So as the match got started, it started with a lockup, and Crush shoved Gabriella Cruz into the ropes. It was a little bit of a shoving match, but then Gabriella gave a waist lock and tripped up Crush and gave a leg base pin attempt. And Gabriella here was shaking up Crush towards the beginning of the match with a lot of her Brazilian jiu-jitsu vibes. It kind of put me in the mind of Eddie Gordo from Tekken, who was one of my favorite people to play with. She was just rolling around a lot and then hitting a double knees to Crush. But of course, Crush was tossing Gabriella, and she tossed her into a backdrop and she kicked her on the ropes and hit a forearms and the elbow dropped. Crush was being very vicious in this match, giving suplexes, but Gabriella would use her ring awareness to sort of toss Crush out of the ring. And they would dance a bit until Gabriella's head hit the ring post. Like I mentioned earlier, Crush was just not above getting very vicious in this match. She even debuted a new submission called the Tyson Tie Up, which was inspired by Mike Tyson, who's, of course, is the famous retired boxer now. Um, and then Gabriella then ducked Crush's elbow strikes and then kicked and threw Crush, and then gave a side Russian leg sweep and an X Factor to try to get the upper hand. And she hit a very impressive Hurricanrana to try to win the match. But as Gabriella Cruz tried to go for another kick, Crush caught her and pushed her off and hit a flying elbow from the top rope for a 3 count. And she won. She won her redemption match. And so Coach got off of commentary and cut another promo saying, "What a match, folks. What a match. I have to say, I issued a challenge to the heavy hitter of top tier, the heavy hitter of WOW, and she passed. This is what I expect from my members of top tier. So Crush passed her redemption test. And up next is Gloria Glitter for her redemption. We'll see next match if she's the weak link or if we keep going and make sure that top tier remains the best team in all of professional wrestling." So, Kat, how did you feel about the performance of Crush? And do you, and if actually, I'll ask this question. If you had to choose what team from, well, what person from top tier to break off and do her own thing, who would it be and why?
I mean, I think I could make the argument for both, honestly. I feel like we've seen Crush before as a solo person before she joined, top tier. We've seen what she could do solo. But I also wouldn't necessarily mind seeing Gloria solo also. Like she had like a little bit of solo matches and then she kind of got, put in the group. And so it would be nice. And I feel like because like Crush is dominant, but I think I feel like Gloria is even more like dominant in regards of how her moveset it. That like if she decides to get annoyed or tired of Cooch's, accusations or insinuations, she might be a bit of a problem. So I can make the argument for both, but I actually would feel like, maybe Gloria would, um, just to prove a point if she really wanted to. Um, so yeah, I'll say Gloria.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I would love to see Gloria do it too, but selfishly, I would want Crush to go solo simply because she was the one who we saw have such an emotional journey to wanting to join top tier because at one point, she was a good girl, but then her and Princess Aussie fell out, who is someone I definitely miss on WoW television. But she's still doing great things in wrestling, so big ups to her. But I do miss her. But when her and Princess Aussie fell out, there was like a huge sort of emotional transformation we saw Crush go through before she ultimately did join top tier with Gloria Glitter. And to your point, I do understand um in terms of seeing Gloria having more of a solo career because we only saw her do a little bit, but what we did see her execute as a solo star was cool, but we only saw so much of it before she joined top tier. So I would love it if Gloria broke off from top tier. But selfishly, I want Crush to do it because I still want to see her, fight and possibly win the WoW World title if she wanted to, and sort of get her attitude back and get back to, what actually matters for her. But I do understand and completely validate your point for Gloria Glitter too. So I definitely get it. But honestly, this match was really good. I was impressed by both Crush and Gabriella Cruz. We see Gabriella lose a lot and it makes me sad. Like I want to see her win so much more than she does. I really do. So
Yeah.
yeah, because Gabrielle is really good. So hopefully we'll see more from her. But Crush passed her test and did it by herself with flying colors. So now we get to see what Gloria Glitter has going on um, coming up real soon. So they did announce that this weekend we will be seeing Penelope Pink going up against Santana Garrett. I don't think it's for the Wild World title, but I'm pretty sure that match is going to be really good. And then they announced that Miami Sweet Heat will get a one-on-one tag team match against Ashley Blaze and Terra Strike for the Wild Tag Team title. So I'm interested to see how that goes, but that's coming up on this weekend's episode. Um, and then, of course, they showed a Genesis montage, which detailed her journey this season and advocating for why she should have a chance at the Wild World title because she has been gunning for it even before they went to Las Vegas. She's wanted a chance at the Wild World title, winning by hook or by crook, and even winning fair and square with these last couple of matches that she's had. And she even went on the official Wild podcast and got in David McLean's face and asked him, "Look, why haven't you given me an opportunity at the Wild World title? Everybody has an opportunity except me, And David said, "You know what? You're right." And now we've drawn up the paperwork, and now here we are. So Genesis now has her opportunity after months and months and months and months and months of fighting for it. And you got to give it to the girl. When she hangs on to something, she hangs on to it and she fights for it. And she finally got her chance um, against Penelope Pink in the main event. So this leads us to Genesis versus Penelope Pink for the Wild World Championship. Genesis came out with her friend Drusilla Blade from their training grounds. And of course, Penelope Pink came out with the fabulous Lana Star. Um, that dynamic in and of itself made this match interesting for me because we are always used to seeing Penelope Pink's opponents come out by themselves, which essentially leaves them kind of handicapped because Lana is always out there cheating and, taking their eye off the ball to the advantage of Penelope Pink. But this time, Genesis had somebody in Drusilla Blade to be out there to sort of be her eyes outside. And that definitely did help um, in certain areas of this match. And I appreciated that. Penelope Pink was not afraid of Genesis. She basically blasted Genesis for whining and threatened to send her back to the land down under. So the match gets started, and it started with a lockup with different shoves and very disrespectful poses, and they were trading pins back and forth. Um, Genesis definitely gave the same energy as Penelope Pink in terms of aggression and in terms of attitude. And it was really good to see her not backing down to Penelope. Because Penelope, you could argue, is essentially the big dog and one of the most complete superstars in all of WoW, and Genesis was not afraid. She took this opportunity and ran with it. Drusilla actually had to stop Lana Star from interfering in the match when Genesis was hanging on the ropes and she was pulling her arms. Drusilla was like, "No, like you get away from her," and that was really good to see. Um, and then at one point, Drusilla actually took the after effect of Penelope Pink's passenger princess suplex to Genesis, and took the kick from it, and it was really tough looking, and she fell down to the ground. Then Genesis started that targeting work that she loves to do, where she uses her MMA background to work on an work on a body part, and she started trying to break down Penelope Pink's leg and knee. But then Penelope switched up and did the same thing. She even attacked Genesis using the ring curtain and the apron attack, and then of course Lana and Penelope used that to their advantage. And then she slammed Genesis's leg into the ring post. This is where I started to feel that that it was about to be a wrap for Genesis, but even in the midst of all that pain, Genesis kept going and kept kicking out of a lot of the things that could have ended um, some of Penelope Pink's matches in the past, like the Pink Nightmare. She kicked out of that. And then at one point, she kicked out of another move that Penelope Pink does. It's very standard. She just kept fighting back. She even gave a Shining Wizard to Penelope Pink with that bad knee that she kept working on, and gave her an X choke. But Penelope Pink yanked her down off the top rope, um, and proceeded to beat up on her. But then Lana Star put Penelope Pink's foot on the rope after Genesis hit a full Nelson Buster, which gave off the impression that she could have won the match and won the title right there. But here again, Lana being that X factor and cheating for Penelope is what ended that for her. And then Penelope hit the Pretty in Pink after targeting Genesis's bad knee again and retained the WoW World Championship. So Penelope is still our champion, but Genesis gave it her all in this match. For all of for all of the stuff that we've said about Genesis and how much, she has gotten on our nerves historically on this show, she gave everything she was supposed to give and more. And for that, I will definitely give her her tens for that. She fought through injury, she fought through shenanigans, and she gave it her everything. And if she had won the WoW World title, I would have been happy for her. But Penelope, man, she's just crafty. Her and Lana are just crafty. So, Katrina, how did you feel about Genesis's performance in this match, and do you think we'll see her contend for the title again?
I enjoyed the match. I like Penelope, but I definitely didn't like that there was the cheating happening. I feel like I know she can win without cheating. We've seen her do it on this. We've seen her do this in WoW, so we didn't really need that. It would have been better to kind of see. Anytime Lana interferes, I always go, "What are you afraid of, Lana? Like, are you afraid your group or your members of the group is not going to do what they need to do?" Every time Lana does that, I'm always just curious. It's kind of the same thing when she was kind of meddling before with other members of, the Fab Four. It's always like, well, sis, what do you think? Would you not trust her as champion? Like, why are you interjecting this much? That's when you don't, I feel like do you not trust your squad kind of vibes. And so I thought Genesis was really good, and I know she like was asking for this match for like a long time. She was asking for this match, and um it's unfortunate she wasn't able to kind of have a fair one-on-one to see if she would have been a new champion, and like Penelope is still. But I thought it was a good match. I just wish Lana kind of would have stayed out of it, just to see what, like, let Genesis have a fair shot. And this is also sometimes I complain about WoW not doing what they're supposed to be doing to make sure sometimes they ain't this much interference. I need them to do a little better about that. Um, just because there's always some nonsense and shenanigans going on, and it's like I shouldn't have been that Genesis. As long as it took her to get this match, they should have allowed her to do this like a one-on-one where there was no interference, and then to go from there. And then if she loses, then that's different than kind of losing because there was other things happening during your match. And I don't think that's necessarily, and not that we haven't seen Genesis do stuff, because obviously we have, but in this like version of her right now, she's been trying to be on the up and up. And so to have the opportunity, and it's like, well, not really, because you're kind of fighting or dealing with multiple people in a match. It's like, that's very different. But I thought it was a really good match. It's unfortunate that Genesis wasn't able to have that match where it was a fair one-on-one and see who will come out on top in this case.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It would have been better if it was a fair and square match. And yes, we have seen Genesis be underhanded in the past as well, but it would have been better if it was, just a one on one match. But here again, I still love the fact that she's learned so many lessons to the point to where she had Drusilla Blade out there with her. But I'm sure that at some point we'll see Genesis, go after the Wild World title again simply because of the shenanigans. She'll be like, look, like, David, give me another chance. Give me another chance. Give me another chance. But I'm hoping that if she does go for another chance, it won't take nearly as long for her to get that chance. Because, oh my God, like, she advocated for herself super hard. And there's a lesson in that, is that you don't give up on yourself. And I at least admire that Genesis didn't give up on herself, and she believed in her abilities enough to where once she did have that opportunity, she did not give up, and I respect it. So it was a really good match outside of the shenanigans and outside of, the Fab Four doing what they do, which is, of course, being the X factor for each other, with Penelope pulling out all the stops there. But I wouldn't mind seeing them face off against each other again, because, like I said, Genesis brought a lot of the same attitude that Penelope Pink brings in her matches, and she did not back down from her, not once. So I want to see them fight again. But Penelope Pink is still our Wild World Champion. And right now, as it stands, she's the only champion in the Fab Four. So we'll see how that dynamic goes, and of course, we'll see what happens this weekend as well, because Miami Sweet Heat do have their rematch for the tag titles. So we'll see what happens there. But of course, we've reached the end of our time together. Thank all of you guys so much for watching us on all of our platforms tonight on this episode of Steph and Kat Talk WOW. Thank you for supporting us in all of our different endeavors that we've been getting cracking over the past couple of months. I know Katrina has been doing a lot more um, than I have, just due to the nature of life and everything, and all of its different transitions and stuff. But thank you guys so much for supporting us individually, and now again supporting us collectively as we continue our coverage of WoW superheroes, because we do still love women's wrestling and love the show, and love the ladies as well. So we will be continuing with this show. And of course, if you have not given WoW superheroes a chance, we definitely recommend you do. It's a women's show. It's all female for a whole hour. Check out where it comes on for you on wowe.com. Type in your zip code and figure out what channel it comes on for you. Or if you have Vice TV, on your smart TV or Hulu or whatever, the episodes come on there, I believe, on Thursday nights, if I'm not mistaken. It comes on pretty late, kind of late, but not like super late. You can watch it there. Um, and also you can watch it on Roku on Wrestling Central along with NWA, if I'm not mistaken, if they're still continuing that. And subscribe to their YouTube channel, which is WoW Superheroes, so you'll never miss an episode or a match. and just continue to support women's wrestling across the board, mainstream, indie, or otherwise, because we are here and we are rising and we cannot be denied. So that's what we're doing. So, of course, Kat, thank you so much for your support and for being my tag team partner. And just tell everybody where they can find and follow you and what you've got going on. Kat?
Yep. Sorry. Um, my bad. Yeah, as Steph said, just support the girlies of WoW. I do have the first panel of mine from this past weekend up on my YouTube already. The second one will be up hopefully by the end of the weekend. I'm still trying to get all my videos and stuff together from that con, as well as a couple of other videos that I had to do. So, and Steph has my book, my wrestling romance book, which took forever for me to write, but no holds barred. I did enjoy writing the story. There will be a book too, so I'm being people are like speed up Katrina. I'm like, that's how it works. But if you are so inclined to um read my wrestling book, then it is on Amazon in print or Kindle form. In July, I will be in Florida at a Barnes& and Noble signing some. So if you're in the Florida area, definitely go check me out. And yeah, just follow me on In Cat We Trust and every social media platform except for Twitter, which to use a 3. So that's about it.
Awesome sauce. And it's a good book. It's a really good book. Hopefully, it'll get the off campus treatment and it'll be on TV. I'm manifesting it. So, you can find and follow me, your girl Stephanie Hardy, on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. You can follow me on TikTok at Stephanie underscore Hardy. You can follow the show, The Hardy Wrestling Podcast, on Instagram at Hardy Wrestling Podcast and on Twitter at Hardy Wrestle Pod. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is the Hardy Wrestling Podcast with the HWP in the middle of a ring that's diamond shaped. An amazing moment happened in the entire history of the show and in the history of my life as a whole. I finally met the Hardy Boys. My God, it was awesome. Um, they've embraced me as their cousin, their Alabamian cousin, and I am so happy that that finally happened. I've been waiting my whole life for it to happen. So I'm so proud that that took place. So if you follow me, you will see that pinned because that was an important moment in the history of the show and in the history of my life as a whole. So it's been great. Shout out to Iron City Comic Con for having them down here. It was really great. It was a line. It was really long, but I'm so happy to finally met Matt and Jeff and be a part of Team Extreme forever. Yay! Okay, so um, and of course, just be on the lookout for whatever it is that I might post about the show, about this show, and all of the above, and just continue to support me and my journey, and putting one foot in front of the other. Because if there's one thing that one lesson in life that I'm taking with me as I move through this new phase without my mom, is that she always taught me to just continue to live my life and continue to um, move through it with persistence and also with joy, because she's given me everything I need to make it through. And she was such a supportive of me doing wrestling stuff. So I'm still putting one foot in front of the other and doing things slowly but surely. And I'm just trying my best. So, yeah, this has been Steph and Kat Talk WOW. And of course, all you can do is try your best in all things. Your best is always good enough. So, this has been Steph and Kat Talk WOW, brought to you by the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and In Cat We Trust. And until next time, bye, y'all.
Hi.